Alright, what we're gonna do is go back. Way back. Well, kinda. We'll start with Buxom and Mog. Together they had 9 children, 6 girls followed by 3 boys. They named their youngest daughter Maggie. She married Fred. They had 2 sons and 1 daughter. I am the oldest of them. I'm Kendrick.
The middle boy, they named Herbie. Well, his name is Aubrey, but we'll get into that later. He married Deborah, and they had 3 girls. I am the oldest of them. I'm Tawana.
The first girl and oldest of Buxom and Mog's children was named Blossom. She married a man named Eugene. Well, we call him Gene. And they had 9 kids, between them 7 boys and 2 girls. The oldest girl was named Myra, and she married David, and they had 3 kids, 2 boys, and the oldest was a girl, and that's me, Simone.
Of Blossom and Gene's kids, the tallest of the boys was Jerome. He married Juanita, and they had 2 sons, the oldest of which was actually the first grandchild that the 2 would share, and that's me, Will, but they call me Gene. So, y'all catch all that? Anyway, hey cousin!
Hello, y'all. Hey, cousins.
Hey, cousins.
Oh, hey, cousin.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Not complaining.
So we excited about today's conversation. Just to kind of recap, last time we talked, we were talking about relationships, and we started the conversation off with Sweetie and her whole situation, and it kind of took us down a rabbit hole where we kind of was able to provide our perspectives about relationships and what we've experienced. And that leads us to our conversation today. So we still want to kind of carry on what we were kind of talking about last week. And Kendrick and I, we're going to start the conversation off.
I mean, how do we navigate relationships? Divorce is definitely one of those things that are more common than they used to be when we were growing up.
My ex-husband isn't the only reason why we didn't make it. And as a 40-year-old woman living in African-American 40-year-old woman living in America, I can take accountability for some of the systematic things that has happened over time, mindset, not knowing who I really was. So that's what I really wanted to kind of say, because I got married. So I got married. First of all, I had a gunshot wedding. I did not have a huge wedding because I was dating my ex-husband out of college. And right out of college, we moved to Atlanta. Kendrick was my roommate, and we just couldn't get it together. We was fighting all the time. Kendrick put his ass out, and we still got like, Kendrick was like, he can't come back here no more. He told me that. You know what I'm saying? And even though my ex-husband apologized and all this and that or whatever, it was the same thing with us just not really getting along. And me being a little bitty girl, like, I moved to Atlanta when I was 24 years old, right out of college, had a great job at Bank of America. He was working at DHL, and we got married. And even though his parents are still together to this day and my parents are still together to this day, we just couldn't seem to get it right. And a lot of it was because like my mom, I'm not blaming my mama for nothing, because she did the best that she could with what she knew, but she just didn't prepare. I wasn't prepared for marriage. I didn't know that there were certain, like, sometimes you have to pick your poison. You know, you can't just, I didn't understand compromise. I didn't, but I will say this, I did everything that I could with the resources and the tools that I had within me to try to make it work. Went to counseling, I did all of that. But the more and more I look back, I look at how much of a little girl I was when it came to being a woman. I was a little girl in a marriage, and I didn't know shit about being married. So, I never, me and him now, we're really good friends because we have 2 sons. And he's very, very, very proactive in their lives. But as far as a relationship and me and him being together, we're like oil and water. We should have never got married. And we got married because mom being religious, mom and daddy being religious, you need to do the right thing. I had already had a son. I already had my first child for him. And what I want to say is sometimes the right thing for other people is not the right thing for you. And I really want you guys to take that for real, because had I known that I would still be here single and lonely at 40, I'll just play.
Why had to make him seem so sad, man?
Single and lonely. But listen, that's just a joke. I love being single. And see, I wish I had embraced dating. I wish I had embraced who I was and what I wanted, you know, and I just did it. I was like, okay, mom and daddy, I'm gonna go ahead and get married. We're gonna just do this gunshot wedding. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the right thing to do. I've had a kid for him. We lived together. So guess what? Let me just do this. And that just wasn't the right thing for me. So now as a 40-year-old woman, of course I have options. I'm not, forget ugly, forget whatever. To me, it's not about that. It's all about what's up here, you know, and my mindset is, you know, I want what's best for me. And if I'm bringing somebody into my life, he gonna have to, when he choose me, he gonna have to choose my turn. Geechee word. He gonna have to choose my kids. And even though my kids are both, you know, almost teenage, well, one is a teenager and one is a preteen, like they kind of like out the way. That's something that I still think about a lot when I'm dealing with people, or if I so for the past 3 years, I haven't dealt with anyone because it took me until age 37 to say, okay, Tawana, you need to just be by yourself. And I think a lot of times we as women, we be so lonely. There is a movie out on Netflix called Behind Her Eyes. That movie is, what you got to say, Junie?
Listen, that sucker crazy. We watched it and we was like mouth dropped, especially at the ending. We gotta watch that.
It was a book turned movie, but one of the lines that stuck out to me the most in that movie was, her friend was talking to her about the situation she was in, and she said, you let yourself get too lonely. So when you let yourself get too lonely as a woman, sometimes you make the wrong choices, sometimes you make the wrong decisions, sometimes you think what you think is right is not right. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I'm learning to do in this I want to say my 40 days and 40 nights of being a 40-year-old, it's like you come to the realization, like, you got to trust your intuition with everything. I ain't talking about just know what somebody had to do, let me not let them in. I'm talking about if a man, I'm not going to say nigga, trying to get off the nigga word, but if a dude come my way, brother come my way, young man comes my way, I am not going to ignore the signs that say, oh, he ain't for me, because I'm lonely.
Now, Tawana, I had a question for you that maybe might be able to help some of the other young ladies out. So as far as what you were just talking about, as far as ignoring signs and red flags and things like that, before you guys actually tied the knot, were there some red flags that you were kind of like letting slide, or things that you were like, this isn't a big deal? Like, can you divulge a little bit on those experiences?
We used to fight a whole lot, like Ike and Tina. We used to fight. Like, nigga, who you talking to? You making, you know, like, I'm talking about not know, well, honey, let's just leave this alone because we can agree to disagree. Like, we used to, like I said, I was a little girl fighting. What I'm doing fighting with him, you know what I'm saying? And he, you know, it came to a point where, you know, I had a busted, and I'm not trying to put him out there bad, but this is the truth. This is what happened. Like, I had he choked me out one day so bad I had to go home. People don't even know about this kind of stuff, and I don't mind sharing because it can heal and help somebody else. But he choked me out one time. We went to the club, and well, first of all, he was very, 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 very obsessive, very jealous because of how we got together. I was dating one of his friends, and then me and him got together. I mean, that's just the God honest truth. But when we got together, I was so determined to make it work. And I grew to love him. And I felt like that love would have sustained anything because it was somebody that I wasn't even really, it was like, you know, we got together and we started having fun. We started doing a lot of stuff together, but because of how we got together, it kind of, it put a curse over my relationship with him. He never trusted me. It was always, you know, if we went out, and like one time we went out to Vegas nights up here in Atlanta, and one of our friends from college was like, "What's up, T? You looking good? Give me a hug." And he said nothing to my ex-husband. And he felt some kind of way about that. And when we got home, I mean, he was just like, you effing around me, you around here flirting all in front of my face. I'm like, you know this dude, like, what are you talking? You know, so it's like I always had to defend myself to him. And he choked me out that night and busted a blood vessel in my eye. And I had to go home to my daddy. My daddy was, when I tell y'all, my daddy was ready to ride and kill that nigga. I was like, no, daddy, don't, let's, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that went on. And even after that, I had so much hope in God. And I prayed and I was just like, I'm gonna just make this work. But it wasn't supposed to work.
Can I ask a question? What do you think was the cause of you thinking like, oh, this gotta work, Do you think that
I kept praying and I kept believing that God would answer my prayers. I went all the way right just so that the relationship could sustain itself and so that me and my kid's father could be together, because my mom and daddy is together. His mom and daddy together. We're supposed to make this work.
Yeah.
And you go to counseling, you go to church, and you believe in God, and you feel like, okay, God is for marriage and all this stuff like that or whatever. But it never worked. It didn't work for me. And I tried, y'all. When I say I did everything possible. I became a saved, holy, sanctified woman, like really like, oh, I ain't doing nothing. I'm gonna just do this and concentrate and make sure my marriage is good. That didn't work because that's not me. And one thing about God is he don't want you not to be yourself. And I wasn't myself. You know what I'm saying? You know, and there were many signs. We were fighting all in college because we started living together. He moved in and we started living together. We was fighting in college. And, you know, a lot of people think like when you get married, you know what I'm saying? It gets better, it gets worse. It don't get better, it get worse. Because what you allow in the relationship as you're courting is what is going to, it's going to be even worse in the damn relationship. So I said all of that to say me and him were both like kids trying to figure everything out. Now we're really good friends. He is a good, you know, father to my kids or whatever. It's just that me and him were supposed to be together. And I kept trying to make something work that wasn't supposed to work. And that's just the God honest truth. So I say all of that to say, you know, you got to trust yourself. You can't listen to anybody else when it comes to you. When it comes to you, you got to listen to you. And if you feel like, okay, I know like I got this child, or we've been together for 10 years or whatever, and you guys are fighting, or you're being verbally or emotionally abused, or you know what I'm saying, y'all just, you continue to deal with infidelity, that person is not for you. He's not your person, or she is not your person. Because that's not what love is. Love is not that. We're not supposed to just be beat down, take down, and just wait till the man turned 40 years old with a receding hairline for him to act right. No, I ain't finna do that. So I took some time. I came to the realization at like 37. Like I was like, you know what, Tawana, you've been with your ex-husband for so long. And then when I got out of the relationship with my ex-husband, I started dating this guy from up north, and he just did everything for me, like just really sweet. We were like friends first. We were really good friends, and I thought it would work, but it didn't work either. But because I didn't know how to be alone, and I didn't know what I deserved. I didn't know what I deserved. I just automatically thought everybody was gonna be like my daddy that I dated, and that's not the truth. People out here, they don't give a fuck. Okay, they don't. They can't. A lot of people out here, they're for themselves. And even as I got out of the relationship, we divorced in 2015. We were together I was 21 when I got with him. I divorced him at 33 or 34. So we divorced in 2015. We were together for like 5 to 6 years, and then we were married. He used to forget our anniversary, and I used to forget. Oh, yeah, we didn't even remember our anniversary. And I used to be like, when I did remember, the next day I'll be like, oh shit, our anniversary was yesterday. Nigga, you forgot. Ready to turn up and act a fool.
The nerve.
The nerve.
The audacity.
The nerve. You see what I'm saying? So that all that went on. I contributed to a lot of, you know, because of my boisterous personality and my mouth, I contributed to a lot of the fights. And I actually say that because a lot of times I could have just kept my mouth shut, and a lot of times I didn't have to, you know what I'm saying, turn up with him. But I didn't want him to ever think that I was no weak woman. So a lot of things that went on could have been prevented, but my pride got into the way or whatever. But if he or she is not your person, you know that, and nobody got to tell you. And that's, you know, that's what I have to say about it.
I want to point out before we go over to Kendrick too, or unless Moan or Kendrick, if you guys have any questions or input to what Tawana just said, but I just want to point out how important and how big it is of Tawana to be able to introspectively look at herself and see the role that she played in the, I guess, the demise of that relationship. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that think it's always the other person and it's only the other person, and I'm just the picture of perfection here. Because sometimes even a role might not even necessarily look like the antagonistic role. Like a role that you played could be you allowing yourself not to be heard for X amount of time. You know what I'm saying? Like some people would look at that and be like, girl, no, he did that to you. But no, you had a part in it too. You played a part. In relationships, there are two parts. You can agree with what you agree with, and then you can denounce with what you choose to denounce. So I think one of the clear signs of growth that someone has attained is when they can see their own fault in relationships, whether that be romantic relationships or friendships. And that's something that we should be striving to do every day. Just look at ourselves and evaluate yourself, because you change every day. And that's all I had to point out. But Tawana, like, you, congratulations.
You can't be ashamed of who you were or what happened to you. You can't be ashamed of that. And one thing about it, and two things for sure, I'm gonna jump in that first boat. Nobody is ever gonna be able to be like, you ain't no, because I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna say what I got to say about me before you say about me, boo. I am. And I believe that a lot of times we as women, we don't see how we showing up. We don't see how, you know, like we literally can, like women, not only do we birth people into this realm, but the power that we have, and also the submissiveness of what we should be. It's like you have to find that perfect balance. And so many times, like I remember so many, like when I think back on everything that happened between us, I was like, I had to say that. I had to do that. I had to go there. But it was the relationship, I had let it go on for so long. He thought it was okay for him to turn up every time he wanted on me. He thought it was okay. So every time you allow something to happen in your relationship, you're saying, it's okay that you cheated on me. Oh, it's okay that you hit me in the face. Oh, it's okay that you came in here and, you know what I'm saying, started raising hell for no reason. Every time you forgive that person and they don't change, their behavior doesn't change, you're saying, it's okay for you to do that to me. So now, if respect is not there, if I can't communicate with you, I ain't fucking with you. And that's just the God honest truth. If we can't, because like I said in the last episode, respect covers a multitude of sins. Okay, it does, because it takes care of everything under the umbrella of, you know, I want him to be considerate. I want him to be this. I want her to be that. I want her to be this. If that girl respect you, she ain't gonna never do nothing to make you feel less than a man. And then sometimes, like for instance, even though I would have been appeasing him, but your mate or your spouse should never feel like they're less than. And in that moment at Vegas nights, when old boy was like, hey T, what's up? You looking good, you know, good to see you. I should say, you remember, just to keep the peace. you remember my ex-husband? Oh, what's up? That would have dead that. That could have dead that. But I just was like, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Knowing I had this on my hand, I should have got into I should have got in the front of a lot of things to just keep the peace. But because I didn't know how to be a virtuous woman, I didn't do it. So, not to say that you should always just try to appease people and try to make sure nobody don't try to fight you and this and that or whatever the case may be. But sometimes as women, we have to kind of wear that hat of balance when it comes to our relationships, just so our husband or our spouse, or even a man that, a lot of women are attracted to, it is his responsibility to make sure that his wife doesn't feel no type of way about none of them bitches around him.
That's the truth. And I mean, that's something that I've had to make sure that I was cognizant of in my own relationship, because I'm pretty jovial. I'm pretty like my rising sign is a Libra, so like I never meet a stranger basically. And so with that, I'll run into women that get more comfortable than is necessary, I feel like, or my spouse may feel like, and I got to be in front of that. And just like you said, like, it's not necessarily about appeasing your partner, but it's about, just like you said earlier too, about the respect piece. It's like, hey, I need you to respect my partner by me acknowledging that she or he is here. So I'm going to lead all conversations to acknowledging that respect for this partner, so that there's no funny business, there's no in between, because as soon as you walk away from us, I got to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And I'd rather be in front of that than for me to get my head, bigged up by Will, you say Will looking good, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I am looking good, but you ain't gonna be looking too good on that ride home, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's huge. Like, there's so many nuances of relationship that, just like Tawana covered at the beginning, like, a lot of the times we need training for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, they train you to, be in Christ and Christ-like, but they don't train you to be spouse-like. You know what I'm saying? And that's a whole hurdle of stuff. You can't go from being a single person to being a spouse and nothing has changed in between those things. So yeah, I completely agree.
So I wanted to piggyback on two things that was said. So one thing you were saying, Tawana, you was like, if that girl don't respect you, you should just like dead that. You actually told me that about somebody. I remember coming to your house and I was like, man, listen, I don't know why this young lady doing this, that, and the third. And you was like, the way you said it, it slapped me in my face. She was like, Simone, that girl don't respect you. I was like, oh, fuck, she really fucking don't. And it never, like, it didn't hit me until it hit me. I was just like, damn. And you said it's so soft and so nice. You was like, oh my gosh, Simone, that girl don't respect you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, cousin, she don't. No,
Correct.
Correct, God. Listen, seriously, it had to take that in order for me to really realize that, because just piggybacking off what you were saying, Junie, like, those are things that we're not taught. And that's because sometimes those are things that the relationships that we were mirroring or that we were admiring, we didn't see that in their relationships. We didn't see that, oh no, you ain't about to disrespect, da, 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 da. Some people have a bad example of looking at relationships. Yeah, okay, yeah, this couple has been married for this long time, but do y'all respect each other? Or there's like, how do y'all speak? And that's really big on me. It's like, if we're together, we've got to speak to each other lovingly, because the minute you disrespect me, I turning up on your ass, because who you playing with? What? Oh yeah, we fighting now. Like, and then I from Charleston, so like, that's disrespect in a whole nother way. Like, you ain't about to disrespect me in front of me. And damn sure ain't about to do that in front of nobody else. Like, we ain't about to, I gonna dead that right now. And I've had a long-term relationship also, like, people would call it like a lesbian marriage, but it's really what that was. Like, we were together for a long time. We've been fighting too. I mean, like, fist fighting. I'm not proud of that, but that's where we were. That's where we were at the time. Like, we were both young too, broke as fuck. trying to struggle together, thinking that was going to work out. And I'm thinking like, oh, well, it's got to work out. She with me while I'm down, and she's still been with me after I done boxed her in her fucking eye. Like, dog, like, no, baby, no. You knew that was not going to work out like that, and you still tried very hard, but no, baby. What is you doing, baby? No, baby.
I got a question, because so what I've noticed in a lot of lesbian and gay relationships or whatever is there's a lot of domestic violence. Like,
it's awful. It's awful because the thing about it is it's the individual and it's the culture from what they see. Like a lot of LGBT, like we like deal with a lot, you know what I'm saying? So there's already a lot of anger and hatred and, you know, all of that negativity that we have to deal with in general, not only from the people around us, like our family, like people outside family, like just strangers and stuff like that. It's just really a lot that people have to deal with. And then if you don't have a confidence in yourself, if you don't have a grip on life, that stuff can eat you up. And then the most thing that you know how to do is just take it out on the person next to you. And it's really excused. And a lot of people would excuse it because, oh, well, I mean, she a girl, so it ain't matter. Y'all just two girls fighting. No, you're not supposed to put your hand on anybody that you're in a relationship with. Like, if you're my partner, you my partner. Like, we partners. How did I look if we show up to the fight and we partners and I end up fighting my partner? How did I look? How did I look? That don't make sense. But a lot of people don't know, like, that's not supposed to go on. When you get upset, take your ass on a walk or something. Go sit down and roll a blind or something. Like, and sometimes even that used to be a fight too. Like, if I'm getting upset with you, I go and smoke me a blunt. I go and roll up a blunt. I don't let you hit it. Like, people really don't know what love is. Oh, hold on. People really don't know what love is, for real. Because love is really like, you really get on my fucking nerve. I really do not like your motherfucking ass. I'm finna go and calm down. I'm about to roll up this blunt and I'm gonna pass it to your little ugly ass. Like, you really just pissed me the fuck off. Like, that's love. You know what I'm saying? Although, like, people might say, oh, that's not speaking to your partner with love. Bitch, I would rather you tell me that you're getting on my fucking nerve and curse my ass out as opposed to boxing me in my eye or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has their levels. But the thing about it is, I want to go a little deeper, is people have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. You have to. That's another thing that we didn't learn. Junie, you were saying that we needed to have training on being spouse-like, but we also needed training on how to date. And a lot of, because we'll see what spousing, like what our ideal spouse or married couple looks like. So we just going based off of just looking at the outside version of that. We don't really see the inside. Like, we could take our parents for inference. Each one of us on here, our parents were married. Even Kendrick, up until, you know, your mom went to heaven. But I mean, they were still married. So we just sitting there watching their relationship and not even knowing what's going on the ins and the outs. You know, we just looking at the surface, but it's way deeper than that. That's something that needs to be taught. These type of conversations have to be brought back into the family. And people will say, oh, y'all need to stay out married people business. Well, this married couple has these children and they're going to possibly be married because of what they see. Like, honestly, every relationship I jumped into, I'm shooting for marriage. That's all I saw. I didn't know any little fly by night type thing. I never saw that. Anybody in my family, all of y'all married, right? What was you about to say, Warner?
I was going to say that's how I was too. When I first went to Savannah State, I was dating the love of my life. I had never experienced that love ever. And my mom split us up because he was a bad boy. He went to New York and I went to Savannah. I was supposed to come to Atlanta, but my mom was like, you going to Savannah first and then you going to transfer. Well, I ended up liking Savannah State, so I ended up going to that school. And for 9 months after, when I first went to school, I was just being committed to my high school sweetheart. And, you know, as time go on, in that distance from New York to Savannah, that's a huge distance for two 18-year-olds, you know? No matter how much we had cared about each other, we met up later in life, but I was pregnant. You know what I'm saying? By my ex-husband, by the time we got back to each other. But and he didn't even care. He was like, I don't care, you know, but I was like, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I was having a son. And it's just something about sons. When you're having a son for a man, they ain't finna just let you just go ahead now. You can just take their son and go on about your business. So, you know, it's like I moved to Savannah and I literally started, when I would date people, I just knew, like, the first 9 months out of the relationship with my high school sweetheart, I met this guy, really, really good, but I've never been kind of like the girl to just sleep around with everybody. I'm a little bit stingy. And my sisters always call me, you ain't nothing but a gold digger. I ain't dating no broke nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say,
you got goals.
That's qualifications. I can be with no broke ass nigga now.
Where the dollars at?
Broke ass nigga. But at the end of the day, you know, I when I was dating to get married, not dating to see, okay, is this what I want? Can I see myself with this person for the rest of my life? And if they did something that I didn't like, even though I didn't have a soul tie with them, you know what I'm saying? I, you know, still had the outlook of, oh, anybody that I was dating to marry. And that's crazy. Like, you cannot think that that's okay. Like, that was not okay for me to be.
But you know what? It's so funny because my wife and I just had this conversation the other day because our niece came, and my niece, she's 20 now, right? And she was just talking to us about like this young boy who came up to her window, knocked on the window, like tried to talk to her a little bit. Come to find out, young man don't got no car. He was riding with his homeboy. And I was like, oh no. Like, I'm like, babe, like, no. You don't need nothing like that, nobody like that, because essentially any relationship that you get into needs to be there needs to be a possibility that you end up with this person. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, if this person is older than you now, don't got no car, obviously their goals are not matching up to where you potentially could have your goal life. And then my wife, she was just like, well, babe, like, it's not about that. It's just about her getting to know people and getting to know what she likes and what she doesn't like. And then we had to like really agree to disagree on that one. But hearing y'all basically say something similar to the same effect, you know, especially coming from two women, it's interesting because like I feel like women are always pigeonholed into having to be in this committed relationship. But now I feel like you guys as a sex are in a place where it's like, no, I want to be able to choose who I end up with, not to be chosen all the time. And so I gotta go probably like, you know, give my wife some flowers or something like that and be like, well, baby, you wasn't all the way wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it makes sense, especially hearing it from people outside of the situation, because it does make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still am firm on the fact that don't waste your time with no scrub, but I mean, it doesn't have to be the perfect person every time you go out for Chick-fil-A with them. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there are some examples where that actually worked. Because look at Tia Mowry and her husband. You know what I'm saying? He was not where, you know, you would think that she would, you know, like she's this child star.
He was an extra.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So you know he broke. You know what I'm saying? So like, but all right. So let me say this. It's not even about the fact that you broke. If you don't have any type of goals, that's the thing. If you don't have any money, okay, like, do you have goals or a way that you want to make that money? Like, where your head at? You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what could kind of determine whether or not you should really go forth into really pursuing such a relationship. Because if dog ain't got no bread, he ain't got no plan on getting no bread, he ain't think about doing nothing to get that. No, baby. I
definitely wanted to say this, Simone, because you're absolutely right. Stability is important.
It is.
Today, no, I'm not a gold digger, but stability is really important to me. And if you ain't got no car, you ain't got no house, and I got all these things, and you don't have any of those things, and you 40?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
How do you add value to my life?
Exactly.
like, first of all, people need to understand that you need to be 100%, even if you're working on yourself. We're never going to be, until the day we die, we're always going to be working on ourselves, evolving, maturing, understanding life, looking at different perspectives. So we're not
going to have the basics. You got to have the basics now.
You got to have the basics, and you have to understand that you yourself got to be at least 100% whole with you. How somebody else gonna love you if you don't love? Like, Mary J. Blige is one of my favorite artists, and she sings it, she preaches it in all her interviews. Like, how do you expect somebody to love you when you don't even love yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How do you expect somebody to give you the things that you won't even buy yourself? Buddy from Red Lobster ordering lobster. Y'all remember that story? How you gonna get somebody else to buy lobster for you and you won't even do that for yourself? That's not what I want for myself. Go ahead, Kendrick. We heard you. You was quiet as a church mouse.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I start everything off with the individual. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said, if you don't love yourself, and usually we get into relationships early in our lives where we're still trying to learn who we are. So you're trying to learn yourself and somebody at the same time, that never really turns out like you planned. Because each year you evolve as a different person, and in a lot of cases you're growing apart. As far as from a man's standpoint, excuse me, from a man's standpoint, relationships at this point, I don't really I see it as a business more so than an actual loving relationship. So people like, oh, my feelings, your feelings has nothing to do with this at all. Because your feelings change from day to day. I think men at this point, if you're gonna get married as a man, you need to have a mission for your life, and you need to actually have a specific role for a wife, and you need to let her know what that role is. If she's fucking with it, then we move forward. If she's not, then she's not the right one for you. Because men need to really realize that in relationships, as far as marriage and things of that nature, you carrying the bomb in your pocket. So you need to be very clear on what you want in life, and if a woman can add to that, you need to find the right woman. You need to let her know what your criteria is, and it sounds business-like because, again, it's a business. You have to sign a contract to be married with another person.
Exactly.
And unsigning that contract is very expensive. I can assure you that. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of goes back to looking out for your best interests. Once you start doing that, I think all things are kind of added to you, as far as you attract the right person when you're the right person. You know what I'm saying? So when you're the right person for you, you're going to always attract the right things. So when we're trying to find somebody to complete us, and so many times you hear people like, oh, I need somebody who's going to love me unconditionally. And it's like you said, Tawana, like, you hate yourself. How's that going to work out? It's like, you hate you. You want me to love you, but you hate you. That's not going to work out, because you're going to make my life miserable trying to love you, and you hate you. So I think at the end of the day, it's very important that the individual actually knows themselves before they try to bring somebody else into their situation. And then don't have kids on top of that, because that's a whole different bag of worms.
So you didn't talk about, your marriage. You were married at one time. Was it a business? What happened? Like,
it was a bad business deal. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the business I was getting to. That's why I brought it up like that. For the simple fact that you really got to sign a contract to get into the situation. But I can't blame her. So it's like we were saying to one of that, as you get older, I think around that late 30s to about early 40s, you kind of have like that come to Jesus, and you start kind of looking at yourself, because at the end of the day, who else can you control? So when you learn to kind of control yourself and kind of look at yourself, then you can kind of like evolve into a place where you're able to be a good partner to somebody else.
I was just gonna say, like, everything that you're saying, like, rounded up, like, definitely to double down on it. My wife and I were having some moments, like, especially after an intense wave of grief that we had gone through, like, just after we got married, and things were rocky, like, they were very hard. So what we did is we went to a couples therapist, and one of the things that the couples therapist said to me, y'all, blew my mind. He said, a marriage should be three things. It should be love, it should be sex, and it should be business. And like when you really tally up those things, it's like, of course, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, because honestly, if you're lacking in the sex department, there's a strain in your marriage. If y'all don't have a business acumen together, like if the house ain't settled, like if there's nobody really in charge of the bills, there's nobody taking control of the finances, there's somebody spending all the money and somebody trying to save all the money, and then if there's no love on top of all of that, like you will see a strain in your marriage if either of those three things are lacking. And the crazy thing is, nobody in my life had ever put it that plainly. Like, I think we go through life and we see relationships that kind of embody some of those things. Like, if you look at a Jay-Z and Beyonce, you're like, oh, they're a power couple. That's the business aspect. You know what I'm saying? But they got their struggles other places, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see that Cliff and Claire Huxtable. You know, it's like, oh, they just got love. Like, look at the way that they look at each other. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they're a fictional characteristic, but like those are the things that we're looking at, you know. And just for you to put it in the mindset of business, I mean, that's already half the battle right there. Like, that's how you need to be looking at these relationships that you are taking in for forever. And let me put everybody on a little small tidbit. I bought my house 4 years before I got married, and I just so happened to be refinancing the house as I was getting married. Y'all know, as soon as I got married, I had to put my wife on the deed, because in the state that I live in, North Carolina, if you get married, no matter who's paying what, if you are a married person, that spouse is on the deed, and it's done. There's no way around it.
Yeah, business.
Yes.
Business.
So you need to screen these people like you would screen the employees for your company. But again, to have a good company and a good business, you have to have a mission that you're so passionate about, especially as a man, because we're the logical thinker and builders. So I need to know what I need you for as a wife coming in. I need to be able to articulate that to you. And if you're cool with that, then we can see what happens. You know what I'm saying? But that lovey, like, oh, she makes me feel, that's all those stories we saw, like in, it's fiction. Yeah. I mean, because I'm at love you today and won't fight you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of goes back and forth. So if you're dealing off of feelings, what's the divorce rate now? It's over 50%.
Yeah, feelings are fixed.
It went through the roof since COVID.
This
because
pandemic,
now
I'm telling
you
it's like, who the fuck am I laying next to? Like,
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
People out here thinking, yo, they out.
Listen, 2020 people was seeing things 2020.
Yes, absolutely.
It's funny, that's really funny.
It was a year of vision. It definitely was a year of vision. And I think too, a lot of people don't understand, like when you combine your like me and my ex-husband, we never combined our finances. He had his account and I had mine. I even opened up an account and was like, okay, I'm gonna let you get I wanted to combine because I'm the spender. He's the saver. You know what I'm saying? But as life evolved and as I evolved, I learned that I needed to save more than spend. And I had to learn that, but he wasn't willing to teach me. Like, if you're my husband, why wouldn't you just say, I'm gonna take care of all the bills and let's just take my debit card? But you never even wanted to even teach me how to save money.
See, but he has to have a mission, and that had to be something that was going to be beneficial to his mission. Again, women are being disappointed. I feel this from my female friends and the conversations we have. They're disappointed because men are afraid to be men because of all these other things that right now the media, men are kind of like being demonized in certain aspects. But again, nature is nature. So any strong woman wants a strong man. And this what makes a man strong is not always physical strength. It's about what he has up here and what I want to do. What kind of legacy am I trying to build? How can the people that I bring into my life help me build that, and how can I positively affect them in that process? If you're not looking at it from a value standpoint, then relationships and marriage and stuff, you shouldn't even be in that store at all.
At all.
Yeah.
And you can't be intimidated by a woman. I'm sorry, Junie. I just want to say this. A lot of men are intimidated by ambitious, determined, resilient women.
I don't think that's true.
I
don't think that's true.
I have to agree with that. I have to. I've actually seen it. I've seen it. And then like people will be confessing it. And then some men just won't confess it, but that is very true. That is a true thing. Whether you believe it or not, there are some men that are intimidated by women.
They
see
me coming. Like when I wake up in the morning, like them demons, they get up and run. Just like them damn men. Oh, this bitch is up.
Well, if he's running from you, let him run because he's not the man for you.
Because here's the thing, those individuals are not men, because the individual that will be threatened by somebody's status and what they have accomplished for themselves as it pertains to where they're coming in, that means that they are letting their ego run them. That means that they are run by their insecurities. And that in its sense is not a man. That is an individual who is trying to be man-like, maybe, if that's their main goal, but they don't got it together. So like, I feel like a real man is confident enough in himself where he could be a janitor and be like, yo, this is my status in life. I love this. Yeah. My wife is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and that don't make me no different because I know that I will treat her with the respect that she deserves, that she can't go out here and find nowhere else. So I'm confident in my position as a man in her life. So the amount of money she bring home don't matter to me.
Right. That's true. I agree with that.
In my experience, I feel like they're intimidated. A lot of men are intimidated. They don't.
Give me an example. Give me some examples of intimidation.
My ex-husband, for example, everything that I did concerning my book was a hobby. He never saw it as a business. He never saw it as it taking off to being what it's about to be in the next couple of months. Because I've created that for me. It took me about 10 to 11 years to make it to where I am now, where I'm 100% an entrepreneur. He didn't see that, but I saw it. And anytime I was up late, 3, 4, 5, some nights I would stay up 24 hours working. Mona, you know about you bet. You know what I'm saying? I the vision I see in my head, I know I can bring it to fruition as long as I'm going to eventually meet up with it. He never saw it. I dated another guy he wasn't less than me, but he's ambitious, but he just didn't have the get up and go. It's like every time he tried to crank that car up, that car then they stop, but me, and I'm driving off, and it was always like he felt like, man, she gonna, it's like, I don't know if it's an insecurity thing.
Yeah,
that's insecurity.
I think it's
that's definitely insecurity.
It's
because that goes back to what Junie said.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's an insecurity thing. Like this girl is about to take off and she was gonna forget about me. And it don't be that. My prayer now is, now that I have finally succeeded to becoming a 100% entrepreneur and actually bringing money in, to support my expenses. Now I feel like, okay, now I want to concentrate, because I have these affirmations that I listen to. And one of them is about, attracting the right partner. Like you said, Kendrick, like you said, attracting the right partner and making sure that, you know what I'm saying, whoever comes along for the next 10 to 20 to however long else I live, whoever comes along, they gonna have to know, look, sometimes I be up on a computer till 4:00 in the morning. Don't be trying to pull on me to have sex. I am working. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be.
See, that's a problem. That's one of the problems right there. Because when you commit yourself to a relationship with the man,
let me tell you something. I'm gonna keep my man empty and full, but I'm gonna tell you, I got to do me. Point blank, period. Yeah. I'm gonna take care of you.
Respect the job.
But you gotta respect what I'm doing. And a lot of, maybe I should rephrase it. Maybe they don't respect it. Not intimidation.
Well, they don't respect the bag.
Right.
They don't respect the bag. That's not cool, because it's like, I would have situations like that too. It's like when I'm locked in and I'm determined, I'm not on the phone as much. I'm not texting back as quickly. And then it's like, oh, well, you must be texting another bitch. And man, I don't even need that type of argument. Like, I'm working. Like, why are you doing that? And like, I don't understand the whole logic behind that, but I agree with you. Like, no, you can't be taking me away from this. Like, I need you to be pushing me. Like, nah, babe, nah, you sleepy? Nah, man, go ahead and finish these next 2 pages. Like, you can do that. Encourage me. If you know that's what I'm working towards, do that. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing about marriages is supposed to be 2 individuals that got their whole life planned out already, especially if they both driven and they get together. It's supposed to be a partnership. So you already in the dating stage need to figure out, how can I be how can I help him out, or how can I help her out? I know I got my own thing going on, but I want to help her out too, because I want to be with this person. And this is what it's going to be if we're going to be together. I know it's going to be times that we're going to miss each other because you got to fly out for your book deal and you got to fly out for this or whatever. There's going to be times we're not going to see each other. But the whole thing about it is, like, the love has to be strong. The trust has to be strong. Nobody needs to be walking around insecure and stuff like that, because insecurity will kill the relationship. Because the whole time you worrying and wasting time worrying and thinking, if I'm cheating on you, I'm working and getting the bag. That is so annoying and immature. It's so disgusting to me. Like, I don't even see that. Yo, I remember, like, I was dating this, I wasn't even dating this girl. Like, I was talking to this girl, and I was really, one of the things she was doing, and that shit really turned me off. It was just like, you know, like, I already knew I wasn't in a position to even be in a relationship or anything like that, but I was just entertaining her and she, whatever. So I know it will be times I'll be like, hey, you know, I'm about to go ahead and get off the phone. I'm about to be working, whatever. And she'll hit me up like in the morning and stuff like that. But in the morning, man, I'm getting my mind right. You know what I'm saying? And I got this thing now where I'm not talking to nobody till after 9:00 a.m. If it ain't about money, we ain't talking till 9. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to spend all this time getting myself together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to get myself right for the day so I can move forward with the rest of the day. But this chick would like text me in the morning and be waiting, and I'll forget to text her because I'm like, all right, I done start my day, and I'll literally go work, and like I'm editing and be sitting here like 3:00 in the day, and I'll be like, hey, let me go get something to eat, and I'll check my phone like, oh shit, this girl texting me at 9:00 in the morning. Oh, no. And she'll hit me with, hey, listen, now I ain't gonna be around for long. Well, go on, man. Like, you know, like, bro, like, come on, dog. Like, you see what I be doing. Well, you could be posting. That's a part of the type of job I got. If you don't understand that, don't be coming in my life adding these unnecessary arguments over the stupid shit. You just know that this is a part of my life. I'll be posting. I'll see a text, but I'm working. My mind, I'm tunnel vision right now. I see the text. I saw that, but I'm working right now, baby. And I need you to understand that. That's not me saying I don't love you. That's just me showing you I love you. I love what I'm doing right now, so I could, you know, give you whatever. Like, what the fuck? Shit.
Judy, go ahead. Cause I want to say, just because
okay,
I post Facebook don't mean I'm ready to talk on the phone. Like, you can't get mad if I post Facebook. People like to do that, you know.
Here's what I'm gonna do though for you. Here's what I'm gonna offer to this conversation, because I do want to make sure that is absolutely, before you get into a relationship, you do have to be complete and whole. But when you choose to get into a relationship, you have indeed chosen to get into a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, with what you just said, Moan, as far as like y'all being like, y'all talking, if y'all were married, that wouldn't fly though. You know what I'm saying? You can't go from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and not speak to your significant other and not let them know what's going on. It's got to be like there has to be a mindset around it, like, oh, okay, babe, like, I'm gonna get back to you a little later. I'm working on this thing. Or beforehand, hey, I'm gonna be working from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you really do have to start to outline those boundaries as it pertains to your day. Because one thing that is very easy for us as creatives to do, we can get into our bag to where we're so one track driven to where we completely forget everyone around us. And ain't nobody signing up to be drug around the world by our asses. You know what I'm saying? So we have to, again, respect our partner and let them know, like, hey, okay, Mondays are my days. I'm going to be working from this time to this time, and I will give you Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, back to the business. You have to have a business acumen around your relationship too, because you don't want your significant other to feel lacked or feel like they are left out in the situation, because then there will be a fault on that you have to hold. It's like, yo, like, I kind of fucked up that situation because I couldn't focus over here when I needed to, and I couldn't multitask with my own stuff as well as the relationship stuff too. And also going back to what Tawana was saying, one of the things that I also want to add to the conversation is that a lot of the times people come into the relationship with the things that they are prepared for. I know further down the line we have we have a show that we're going to do discussing creatives in Black families. And if you grew up in a family where anything creative minded, wanting to be an actor, wanting to be a writer, wanting to be anything, felt like a joke in a game, and you were told specifically, like you grew up like, oh, I'm gonna write a book one day, but somebody said, oh, you better go to college to get that piece of paper because that's all that matters. You're not gonna be able to step into a relationship and respect that your spouse does that, because you've literally been conditioned for years to look down on that aspect of yourself. So it's hard then to invite someone else in and see them be so free in that thing that was doused in you so early. And so not that makes it right, but also just to provide another perspective on why some of those things could be happening. And sometimes communication can really like erase all of the issues that are going on in relationships. Like if there was an open communication, like, yo, I feel like every time I get into my creative lane, you come at me in a way that that tries to make me feel less than. What is that about? Can you search yourself and let me know what is it that bothers you so much about what I'm trying to do? And if they can articulate it and get to the root of that, and sometimes you can be there for that conversation. Sometimes that's their own work that they need to come back to you and report to you on. But if they can get to the root of like, yo, I kind of don't even really feel like that. It's just growing up. My auntie always told me that you never be nothing if you wasn't a physician's assistant. You know what I'm saying? And so that's all I see now. You know, there's so many things, like there's so much trauma, especially as Black people. There's so much trauma that we hold within ourselves as we go through lives, that we get to this point where it's like, oh, it's time for marriage now. And it's like, yo, you so broken. You got pieces of you that's broken that you don't even know. Like, and you got to work that out. Like, but that's all I wanted to offer to this moment right here.
I definitely agree with that. I can speak to that because and it goes back to what you guys were saying before. There has to be a time where you mature and actually know who you are, but you can't know who you are until you go back and break down what made you. You got to understand
the root. You got to go to the root.
You got to go to the root. Everything has a root. You got to find out, well, why do I do things like this? Why do I do things like that? When you go to the root, you will be astonished. Sometimes those things could be because, oh, well, because my mom does this, or because my dad does this. This is why I think like this. And you can't really necessarily fault them for that, because it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like some people will be like, oh, well, I'm blaming my parents. My parents are, they the reason why I'm like this and da-da-da. And that's their story. That's what they live by. No, baby. The thing is for you to recognize that, fix that, and move on. You know, a lot of people hold on to that, and they really will like hold that on their parents. You got to understand, like, these people are human too. They had to go through things in their life too. They had to learn these things too. And sometimes they don't learn because they don't know they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever told them. So you have to have some sort of grace when it comes to things like that. But you also got to know, like, okay, I know what this is about myself, and I can see that's what it is about you. And if you're not willing to fix that, then you better get the fuck on. Shit.
Yeah, boundaries. When you said boundaries, respect, boundaries, those two things, that's basic in business. Oh, I forgot, in sex.
Well,
you cannot be holding out on sex on your man or your wife or you can't do that. What you was about to say, Kendrick? Go ahead.
I mean, expectations, but you're right about that. But when it comes down to it, if you have the expectations for a situation going into it, and I think that's what we lack in a lot of things, you just kind of get into some stuff. You don't really know what you want from the situation until you get in what you don't want.
That's true. That's true.
It's at that point, how do you know you want to be with this person if you don't know what drives this person, what makes them tick, what pisses them off, what pisses you off about them? So how are you in a relationship, and then a marriage without knowing these things, until it's too late. So we need to start really looking at coming in with the proper expectations and being able to articulate our positions. What do I want from this relationship? Okay. What am I bringing to the table? Okay, I'm ambitious. This is what I'm on. I work a lot. I think we all creative. So, yeah, I'll be in here for like 3 days on my computer and not a care in the world. You know what I'm saying? So that's not going to change about me because I'm ambitious and I'm always going to be, I have another project to kind of push me towards that next level. So I don't ever want to feel like people should change who they are. I just need you to be able to articulate who you are to another person in a way that gives them opportunity to take it or leave it. You know?
Right.
So that's my input on that.
Great conversation, y'all. It's been an hour. Can't
wow.
believe it.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, relationships, when we talk about relationships, that can go on for days and days and days and days, and rabbit holes we can go down. And there's a lot of things I'm sure we'll discover as our podcast evolves. But this was a great conversation. I do believe that we did not get to talk about the sex part.
Oh, that could probably be a topic on itself, actually.
It's going to
There's a lot of taboo. There's a whole bunch of taboo in our community about sex. Like, you kind of learn that on the street more so than at the house.
Man, listen.
Let's go deep. Let's go deep next time, guys. Like,
absolutely.
Let's go in on that one. But we're at our hour. We're gonna wrap it up. Anybody else want to kind of just throw out their, summary perspective from this conversation?
Make sure you love yourself before you get into a relationship. Make sure you know and study yourself before you get into a relationship. Make sure you are whole and 100% before you get into a relationship. Niggas, stop going and fucking around with these young ladies, nutting up in them, having babies and shit, knowing you can't take care of their motherfucking ass. Stop doing that shit. Ladies, stop fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry and not knowing what the hell you gonna do and how you gonna feed that baby and how you gonna clothe that baby and how you gonna care for that baby when you got to work your 9 to 5. Stop doing that shit. Make sure you 100% love yourself before you get into a relationship, because if not, it's going to trickle down like for the rest of your life, or if you have children, to the rest of their lives too. That's very important. Didn't mean to go over, but yeah.
Well, one of my thoughts is that I think it's always important to make sure that you're listening to other people speak about relationships, because there's always something that you can learn at the end of the day. And relationships are work, like you have to work, because it's two individuals trying to become one person. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't happen just by like snapping your fingers. And I mean, I haven't met so many people where it's just been that easy. It is work, and you don't necessarily have to give up at the slightest, I guess, disagreement. But if both parties are willing and open to hear one another and work through those things, it's worth a shot.
If you put in a whole full effort into something, you're going to get a good return. Mm-hmm. And the only way you can get that full effort is actually having all the information that you need from who you are. And that kind of takes some time. After you move out of your parents' house, it takes years to kind of like really learn who you are, I think. You know what I'm saying? You travel, especially as you find yourself in different locations and different areas and around different people in your life. I think you should kind of take that into consideration when it comes down to meeting other people. Like, where are you at in your life as far as evolution before you try to evolve with somebody else at the same time? So put yourself first, and then everything else kind of falls into place.
And just to kind of sum up everything, don't look left, don't look right, don't look up, don't look down, look within. If you don't know who you are, you can't expect somebody else to come on this journey with you. Don't look at other people's relationships, because you don't know what the hell. Let me tell y'all something. Don't be looking at Facebook and IG at these fake ass relationships that's out here. And some of them could be love, but for the most part, don't look at nothing else but you when it comes to you. And you guys said everything else. Respect for me is just number one. Respect, boundaries, business, baby. That's all I got to say about that. Super excited about our conversation the next time we talk, because let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you. And we don't want our aunties and our uncles down to hear this conversation, okay?
Mm. But we have to block them from this episode.
We don't have to block them. But it was a good conversation, and I think we learned a lot. And I think sometimes like this kind of stuff is very therapeutic. Very, very, very therapeutic. So not gonna keep you guys any longer. Hey, cousin, signing off.
Hey,
Hey,
cousin.
cousin.
Hey, cousins.